My name is Drake, running real estate here on YouTube. Today we are going to talk about how much money my business brought in 3 months on Airbnb in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Let's get right into it. "12 videos ago, I talked about how I sold my house in July, my first investment buy. After the successful sale, I was determined to relocate to a single-family investment property that I held in Fayetteville, Arkansas, as the tenant was moving out. During this time, I was displaced, and I quickly found out how overpriced Airbnbs were in Northwest Arkansas, and so I decided to turn this single-family long-term rental into a short-term rental. The big thought was, I had owned and operated a condo unit short-term rental on Airbnb in Dallas, Texas for the last few years. SEC football was around the corner, this was in a college town, and I knew that this single-family home would make the perfect Airbnb. Arkansas's first football game was September 4th. There was no time to waste around this time in mid-August, so we got right into it, and in our first month in operation in September, we made $3,689 of pure profit. Of course, the Arkansas football team's winning streak at this point in the year served in our favor, but as they say, luck is a mix of preparation and opportunity. But now you're wondering, well, how did the next 2 months go? And I'm here to talk about October and November, the first 3 months wrapped up, and what we were able to walk away with profit-wise in 3 months on Airbnb. If you are on the cusp of buying a single-family unit, whether that's a condo, a home, an apartment, whatever, and you're thinking, should I make this a long-term rental or should I go the Airbnb route? I hope this video serves as a resource for you if you want to make the decision on going for the cash flow and the headache or taking the long-term route. Hang tight, we're gonna get into the numbers. You'll see if we were able to eclipse $3,689 that we made at September, or if we came back down to earth and realized that Arkansas playing Texas was a huge benefit for us. Stay tuned to see the actuals. In our first 90 days for the Fayetteville Airbnb, we had 14 different stays. We had an occupancy rate of 81%. And keep in mind that one thing I've decided to select was nothing shorter than a 2-night stay. So we had a lot of gaps that were built in and affected our occupancy rate negatively because we won't fill a random Wednesday. We want at least 2 nights. It's easier on our cleaners. It's easier to flip the unit. And it makes sure that the people that we have coming to stay have made a bigger investment and generally will treat the property with more respect. So what was the most expensive stay we had? What was the average and what was the lowest? I want to start out with the total revenue generated. Keep in mind, this doesn't really matter as a number because it's all about how much you keep and what profit margin you carry with Airbnb. But we brought in $15,958 in our first 90 days with the unit. The average booking brought in revenue of $1,140. The high side outlier was a booking of $4,050 for a family that was renovating their home in the same town. So oddly enough, they weren't even traveling. And then our lowest booking was $250 for a 2-night stay. And during these 90 days, we fluctuated the average price a lot depending on how the football team was doing and whether there were home games or away games. That's fun, seeing the money come in, hit the bank account from Airbnb, but how much were our expenses total? $10,542 is what we spent during the first 90 days on expenses, and I'll break that down by percentages. 41.5% went to our mortgage payments, and that was by far our biggest expense. I'm a big fan, investment property or primary residence, to keep your mortgage payment in an escrow account. So that included our principal payment, our interest payment, our taxes, and our insurance. So if I don't mention any of those for the rest of the video, that is why. That was covered in that 41%. Dropping down to our second biggest expense, we paid our property manager about 30% of our total expenses at 20% of gross revenue. Next, we had our cleaning fees, followed by our electric bill. And then the fifth biggest expense was our Airbnb host fee. You might ask, what is the Airbnb host fee? Very important to understand. So you take a ride in an Uber, the Uber driver's not keeping the full fare. The platform takes a percentage of that for hosting the driver. Exact same with Airbnb as you would expect. I know that's not news to anybody, but it's coming in at 3.1%. So on a $1,000 stay, Airbnb is gonna make sure to take their 3.1% of that is charged to the host. So that came in as our 5th biggest expense. Internet, our gas bill, lawn maintenance, subscriptions, fees, those are the boring stuff you didn't come here for, but those also fell into our pot of expenses. Let's talk about profit. As I said, revenue, $15,958. Expenses, $10,540. Total Q1 profit, $5,416. But as I teased in the opener, September was $3,689, which means that October and November were about $864 respectively. Let's put that in perspective. So September was a crazy outlier. Obviously, it would make sense to turn every single property you own into an Airbnb with that kind of return on a $1,454 mortgage. $864 is actually really strong. And the basis for me saying this is if we were to rent that property out as a single family rental, we might pull in $1,525. After a few odds and ends expenses, that's basically break even, where your main benefit is someone else paying down the mortgage and you basically pocketing that principal pay down. With what we were able to accomplish at $864, you were let's say 3xing the cash flow that you could bring in with making it a long-term rental. So from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense, but you have to have the right formula for a property for one to make sense as a short-term rental destination. We'll talk more about that in a later video, but I hope this helps if you're making the decision on what to do. Our Q1 average was $1,806 of cash flow per month, but I do want to zoom back out and keep in mind I did say our 2nd biggest expense was a property manager. You don't have to do that, especially if you only have a few units. You can greatly increase your profitability by removing that expense. As for me and my business, it makes a lot of sense. Our property manager happens to be someone that's in the family, so we keep it all in the family. And I personally really enjoy that because then I can spend time identifying other deals and planning the best path forward and less time on communicating with guests and communicating with our awesome cleaning crew. So for me, that works out the best, but just a pro tip there, something you could throw in there and actually remove from the equation. Oh, I made it to the end of another video without mentioning somewhere along the way to like the video. So if you happen to still be here, I know you have an even better chance of hitting that thumbs up. Would mean a lot to me, would mean a lot to the channel, and we will keep producing videos like this with positive reactions from the community. My name is Drake, running real estate here on YouTube. Today we brought our Airbnb cash flow back down to earth from our first 90 days. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm out.